My name is Ryan Walker, and I never thought a simple fence could turn into a full-blown neighborhood war. I bought my house in a quiet suburban community in Arizona. It wasn't a mansion, not even close. Just a modest 2-story home with a backyard, a small patch of grass, and a wooden fence that separated my property from my neighbors. That fence was mine. Legally mine. Built on my property line. Installed with permits, surveys, everything properly documented. At least, that's what I thought would be the end of the story. I moved in expecting peace. Quiet mornings. Maybe a friendly wave from neighbors. What I didn't expect was that my fence would become a community laundry rack. It started small. One morning, I walked into my backyard with coffee in hand and noticed something strange. A towel, hanging over my fence. I assumed maybe it was a mistake. Wind. Accident. Something harmless. So I took it down and placed it on the neighbor's patio table. No note. No confrontation. Just silence. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 days later, there were 3 towels. And a shirt. And a bedsheet. All hanging over my fence like it belonged to everyone except me. That's when I walked next door. A woman named Brenda answered the door. She was middle-aged, overly confident, and had that HOA energy written all over her face even though she wasn't officially on the board yet. "Oh hey," she said casually. I held up the clothes. These were on my fence. She smiled like I was overreacting. "Oh yeah, we use that side to dry laundry. The sun hits it better." I blinked. "I'm sorry. You use my fence." She shrugged. "It's just a fence. Everyone does it." That sentence stuck with me. Everyone does it. Not can I ask. Not is it okay. Just assumption. I left without arguing. That was mistake number 1. Over the next week, it escalated. Not just Brenda. The entire row behind my house started using my fence. Shirts, socks, bed sheets, baby clothes. My backyard looked like a public laundromat. And every time I removed them, they came back stronger. More items, more lines, more entitlement. When I finally complained to the informal neighborhood HOA group chat, I got responses like, "It's not hurting anyone. Don't be difficult. You're making a big deal out of nothing." That's when I realized something important. This wasn't about laundry. It was about control, so I decided to document everything. Every item hung on my fence. Every day. Every time. Photos. Time stamps. Video clips. Then I contacted my attorney. He listened quietly. Then said one sentence. "They are trespassing on your property rights." That changed everything. Sent a formal notice. Clear. Legal. No emotion. Cease and desist. All use of my property for personal purposes, including hanging laundry, attaching items, or any physical contact with my fence. I expected anger. I got worse. Ignorance. Brenda laughed when she read it. "This guy thinks he owns the fence," she told neighbors. But I didn't respond. I just waited. Because people like this always escalate before they stop. And they did. One morning, I woke up to find metal hooks attached to my fence. Permanent ones. Drilled in. Now it wasn't just laundry. It was installation. That was the moment I stopped being patient. I called my attorney immediately. Then I called a property surveyor. Then I called the HOA management office directly. Within 48 hours, everything changed tone. Because once professionals enter the situation, assumptions disappear. Facts remain. The surveyor arrived first. He walked the fence line slowly, measured everything, marked boundaries, then confirmed what I already knew. The fence is fully on your property. Any attachment without permission is unauthorized. That was enough for legal escalation. But Brenda didn't care. She still hung clothes the next day, even with notices, even with warnings. That's when I realized something else. This wasn't ignorance anymore. It was defiance. So I installed cameras. Not for drama. For evidence. And I waited. 3 days later, I had everything I needed. Brenda. 2 neighbors. Using my fence again. attaching ropes, hanging laundry, laughing like nothing mattered. That footage went straight to my attorney. And from there, to the HOA board. The HOA finally called a meeting. And I attended. Not angry, not emotional, just prepared. The room was full of residents. Brenda was there too, confident. Until I played the video. The room went silent. No one spoke. Because now it wasn't opinion. It was proof. The HOA president tried to minimize it. It's just laundry. I interrupted. It's an authorized use of private property. Then I placed the survey documents on the table, followed by the legal notice, followed by the recorded footage. Each layer removed another excuse. Until there were none left, the attorney representing the HOA finally spoke. This is a liability issue. That's when Brenda's expression changed. For the first time, she realized this wasn't a neighborhood disagreement anymore. It was legal exposure. Within 1 week, the HOA issued a formal notice. All residents must cease use of private property boundaries for personal utility purposes. Fines were threatened. Enforcement followed. But I didn't stop there. Because I knew behavior doesn't change with warnings. It changes with consequences. So I reinforced my fence. Not aggressively. Legally. With clear signage. Private property. No trespassing. Violations will be recorded. The first day after that, nothing happened. No clothes. No hooks. No ropes. Just silence. Brenda avoided eye contact after that. Neighbors stopped pretending it was normal. And slowly, the fence became what it was always meant to be. A boundary. Not a shared space. Not a community tool. A line that means something. Months later, I stood in my backyard one evening. No laundry hanging. No arguments. Just wind moving through the yard. And I realized something simple. Most conflicts don't start big. They start with small assumptions that go unchallenged. And if you don't stop them early, they become normal. But once you stop them properly, they don't return. After the HOA meeting ended, I thought things would finally calm down. I was wrong again. Because the next morning, I woke up to a new kind of problem. My fence was no longer just being used. It was being claimed. Not legally, not officially, but emotionally, in the minds of my neighbors. It had already become shared property. And that belief was growing fast. It started with small changes. A rope tied permanently between 2 fence posts. Then plastic clips added by someone. Then even a small folding rack leaned against my side without permission. It was like watching a slow invasion of normality. And the worst part? No one saw it as wrong anymore. To them, it was just how things are. I went outside that morning and removed everything again. Quietly. Without confrontation. But this time, I noticed something different. Someone was watching me from the window. Brenda. Smiling. Like I was the one being unreasonable. That's when I realized this wasn't just about laundry anymore. It was about influence. She had convinced others that my property wasn't really private, in a practical sense. And once that idea spreads in a neighborhood, it becomes dangerous. That afternoon, I got another HOA message. This time more formal. A community suggestion proposal. They wanted to designate shared exterior utility zones for drying clothes and temporary household use. And guess where they marked those zones? My fence line. Specifically my backyard perimeter. I actually laughed when I read it. Not because it was funny. Because it was bold. They were trying to convert assumption into policy. That's when I called my attorney again. And this time, I didn't sound calm. I think they're trying to normalize trespass as policy, I said. There was a pause. Then he replied. They're trying to make illegal use feel socially acceptable. That's more dangerous than legal violation. That sentence stuck with me. So I decided to escalate properly. Not emotionally. Legally. I hired a property rights consultant and a licensed surveyor again. But this time I also installed a full perimeter monitoring system. Motion cameras. Time-stamped recording. Cloud backup. Because evidence only works if it cannot be disputed. 3 days later, I caught the first major violation. Not just laundry, but modification. Someone had actually extended a small hook system into my fence using screws. Permanent installation. No permission. No notice. That was no longer misunderstanding. That was alteration of private property that I didn't confront anyone. I documented everything. Then I sent the file directly to the HOA legal representative. And I included a single line. A single line. Future unauthorized modifications will be treated as intentional property damage. No anger. Just clarity. The response came faster than expected. A formal HOA emergency notice. This time the tone had changed. Less confident. More defensive. They claimed residents may have misunderstood boundary usage norms. But I knew what that meant. They were backing off the narrative. Not because they agreed, but because they were exposed. Still, Brenda didn't stop. She doubled down in a different way. Now she started influencing neighbors verbally. I overheard her one evening speaking outside. He's just trying to control everything. It's just a fence. He thinks he owns the whole neighborhood. That was the key word. Just. Because once people start minimizing your rights, they stop respecting them. So I decided to take the next step. Public clarity. I printed a simple notice and placed it on my fence. Private property boundary. No use, no contact, no attachments. All violations recorded. No threats. No emotion. Just law. The reaction was immediate. Some neighbors ignored it. Some got annoyed. But a few understood. And slowly, something shifted. People stopped casually approaching my fence. Stopped hanging things just for a day. Stopped assuming. But Brenda wasn't done yet. She organized a small neighborhood discussion group. Not official HOA. Just informal pressure. And the goal was simple. Convince others I was overreacting. At that meeting, I wasn't invited. But I still found out what was said. Because someone recorded it. And sent it to me. In the recording, Brenda said, "If we all used it together, he can't really say no to everyone." That was the moment everything became clear. This wasn't ignorance. It was strategy. Social pressure to override legal boundaries. So I prepared my final response. Not confrontation. Not arguments. Just enforcement. I sent all evidence, photos, videos, timestamps, witness statements, to HOA legal counsel, property management company, and my attorney's litigation file. And then I waited. Within a week, the HOA issued a strict compliance order. All residents were prohibited from using private property structures for any purpose. Fines were introduced. Violations would be escalated. And suddenly, the fence became invisible again. No clothes. No ropes. No hooks. Just wood. Just boundary. One evening, I stepped outside and saw something I hadn't seen in weeks. Nothing hanging on the fence. No movement. No activity. Just silence. And Brenda. She avoided eye contact entirely now. Because she knew something had changed. Not the fence. Not the neighborhood. But the consequences. Months later, I replaced part of the fence. Not because it was damaged. But because I wanted it stronger. Cleaner. Clearer. A reminder that boundaries don't exist to be shared. They exist to be respected. And standing there that evening, I realized something simple. Most conflicts don't begin with big violations. They begin W.